The phone on the coffee table buzzed twice, lighting up with a message from a cousin she rarely heard from. Elizabeth picked it up, and the screen glowed with a photo she wasn't prepared for, a Thanksgiving dinner table. The attached message read, "Thought you should know." Below it, the image loaded, a festive table, and at the center a stranger wearing her grandmother's pearls. The Instagram caption read, "Our beautiful daughter." A young blonde woman smiled, the pearl necklace bright against her dark dress.
That's my grandmother Margaret's necklace, the one she left to me in her will. They gave it to her. They called her their daughter. I've been erased.
She stood abruptly, grabbed her car keys and handbag, her jaw set like stone. From her desk, she snatched the folder containing the notarized addendum to her grandmother's will. She slid behind the wheel, started the engine, and pulled out into the fading November light, heading for the highway. The GPS display read 4 hours to her parents' house. Elizabeth pressed the accelerator, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. But the fury burning in her chest had been kindled 2 years earlier, the last time she'd heard her brother's voice.
Liz, I'm in trouble. The restaurant's going under. I need $48,000 to keep it alive. You're my only hope.
I can't, Edward. That's my entire savings. Your business plan doesn't work, and I won't throw good money after bad.
You're killing me. Mom and Dad will never forgive you for this.
The call ended, and just as Edward warned, Donna and George cut her off without a word. That Thanksgiving, no invitation came, no call, no text. For 2 years, silence. Edward's restaurant closed 6 months later, but the family never reached out to Elizabeth. She'd been erased.
They wouldn't even tell me why. Just silence. And now they've found a new daughter to sit in my chair.
The highway stretched ahead, dark trees blurring past. She gripped the wheel, replaying the photo in her mind. 3 more hours to go. She wasn't just bringing the will addendum. She was bringing 2 years of unanswered questions. But of all the things she'd lost, the sting that cut deepest was the pearls. Her grandmother Margaret had given them to her in writing. A notarized addendum, signed 6 months before Margaret passed, named Elizabeth as heir to 3 specific items: the pearls, 2 landscape paintings, and a $62,000 savings bond.
Grandma wanted me to have a future. The bond for a house, the paintings for my walls. She knew exactly what she was doing.
After her family cut her off, Elizabeth never pursued the items. She assumed they would respect Margaret's wishes. But the Instagram photo proved otherwise. They hadn't just ignored the addendum, they'd handed her legacy to a stranger.
They didn't just take my seat. They took what Grandma left for me, and they gave it to her like it was nothing.
Now, with the folder on the passenger seat, Elizabeth's purpose sharpened. This wasn't just about a photo, it was about enforcing a legal right. The addendum was clear, notarized, binding. Catherine, the family estate attorney, had the original. 3 hours to go, and she would walk in with evidence, not just emotion. The miles peeled away under her tires. Autumn trees, empty rest stops, a sky turning from gray to the deep blue of early evening.
I'll walk in, look at my mother, and say the exact words Grandma's lawyer told me. No anger, just the paper.
She turned onto a familiar street. Her parents' 2-story house came into view, a Thanksgiving wreath on the door, 3 cars in the driveway. She parked across the street. For a moment, she just breathed, staring at the lit windows. Then she grabbed the folder and stepped out.
They don't know I'm here. They're toasting the turkey right now, thinking they've won.
She didn't knock. She turned the handle quietly and pushed the door open, letting a wedge of warm light fall onto the porch. The wall clock in the hall read exactly 4:47 p.m. The sound of forks pausing on china echoed from the dining room. She stepped into the hallway, her heels quiet on the hardwood, and followed the murmuring voices to the dining room.
This is it. 2 years of silence ends now.
She stepped into the room. The turkey sat at the center of the table, and there in Elizabeth's old seat, a stranger wore her grandmother's pearls. Every face in the room froze. Donna's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. George's eyes locked on the turkey as if it might rescue him. Christine, the blonde 24-year-old, looked up with a bright, nervous smile, still unaware. The pearls gleamed against her collarbone.
She doesn't even know she's sitting in my chair wearing my inheritance.
Elizabeth took one step closer, her voice cutting through the holiday warmth like a scalpel.
The pearls you're wearing were left to me in a notarized addendum. Catherine has the paperwork.
Silence rushed into the room. The clock on the wall seemed to tick louder. Donna's mouth opened and closed, but no words came. George refused to lift his gaze from the turkey. Edward, to her left, stared at Elizabeth with a look of pure panic, his knuckles white around his wineglass. Christine's smile vanished. She glanced down at the pearls, then back at Elizabeth, confusion sinking in. No one spoke. The replacement had been exposed, and not a single person at that table knew what to say.
Elizabeth, this is not what it looks like. It's just a piece of jewelry.
This is a family Thanksgiving, not a courtroom. Put the folder away.
Liz, come on. Can't we do this later?
Is it true? I didn't know. Donna, you said these were just family heirlooms.
It's not just anything. It's a notarized addendum to my grandmother's will. Catherine is the attorney.
Donna's face flushed, but she said nothing. The silence was her answer. Christine's confusion turned to unease. She looked at Donna, then at Elizabeth, waiting for someone to explain. Edward shifted again, unable to meet his sister's eyes. Whatever he'd hoped for, it wasn't this. George's carving knife remained motionless. The turkey cooled, and so did the room. Elizabeth held up her phone, the addendum glowing. The family's silence answered every question.
The addendum is right here. I bequeath my pearl necklace to my granddaughter Elizabeth. Not to the family, not to a stranger.
Christine is like a daughter. We let her borrow the pearls for today. It was just harmless fun.
You were gone for 2 years. We didn't think you cared about any of this.
You cut me off. I never received a single call. Don't pretend my absence was my choice.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Let me take them off, please.
Before Christine could unhook the clasp, Donna's hand shot across the table and clamped onto her wrist.
I decide who wears these pearls, not you. You don't get to storm in here and make demands.
She'd rather physically stop Christine than admit she stole from me.
Christine's face went pale, trapped between the two women, the pearls still around her neck. The entire table had become a hostage situation over a necklace, and no one dared move.
You have 3 days. 3 days to return those pearls. If I don't have them by Monday, Catherine will file a Replevin complaint. The addendum is unassailable.
You're insane. You'd actually take us to court over a piece of jewelry?
Over my grandmother's explicit wish, over being erased. Yes, they thought silence meant surrender. They'll learn otherwise.
Without another word, she turned and walked toward the front door, her footsteps steady on the hardwood floor. Behind her, the Thanksgiving table became a museum of broken traditions, the turkey still steaming, the cranberry sauce untouched. Christine finally pulled free from Donna's grip and unclasped the pearls, setting them on the white tablecloth. Donna scooped them up and clutched them to her chest, her eyes blazing at Elizabeth's retreating back. Elizabeth reached her car, sat down, and drove away without a backward glance. The adrenaline was already fading. 3 days. That was all the family she'd ever known had left before the law took over. A few miles down the road, Elizabeth pulled into a rest stop. She killed the engine and picked up her phone, staring at the screen.
Catherine, it's Elizabeth. I need your help. The notarized addendum my grandmother left, it's been violated.
Elizabeth, slow down. Tell me what happened. I'm listening.
My parents gave the pearls to a stranger. She was wearing them at Thanksgiving. I told them about the addendum, but they refused to return them.
The addendum is ironclad, notarized, witnessed, and filed. The pearls are legally yours, Elizabeth. They have no standing. I'll retrieve the original from the file on Monday morning. Once we have it, we can prepare a demand letter or go straight to court.
So I just wait.
2 more days of knowing she's still holding on to what's mine.
They finalized the plan. Elizabeth would come to the office Monday morning, and they'd set the legal wheels in motion.
They had 3 days. Something tells me they'll use every last second to pretend this isn't happening.
She pulled back onto the highway. The weekend stretched ahead, empty and waiting, but the law was now squarely on her side. Monday morning broke gray and cold. Elizabeth stood outside Catherine's law office, the nameplate a quiet promise of certainty. Inside, Catherine was already prepared. A thick folder lay open on her desk, the original addendum on top.
I retrieved the original first thing this morning. The addendum is exactly as I remembered, notarized, witnessed, and legally binding.
Elizabeth took a seat, and Catherine spread the documents across the desk, her finger tracing the relevant clauses.
The pearls, the 2 landscape paintings, and the $62,000 savings bond, all explicitly bequeathed to you. No ambiguity.
Reading the words again, I could almost hear Grandma's voice. She wanted me protected. So the family has zero legal claim. What do we do now?
We file a replevin complaint. It's a legal action to recover specific personal property. I've already drafted the paperwork.
Elizabeth took the pen. Her signature was steady. The complaint was now a living legal document. By noon, the lawsuit was filed. The family would be served within hours. The clock had run out. At 2 p.m., a process server knocked on the front door. When Donna opened it, her face twisted as she saw the official envelope.
What is this? You can't just...
Inside, George sat in his recliner, reading the complaint with a grim, disbelieving expression.
She actually filed a lawsuit over those pearls, over family, after everything.
Edward, pacing in the kitchen, immediately grabbed his phone and called Elizabeth.
Liz, this is cruel. You're tearing us apart. Just tell Catherine to drop it, please.
What's cruel is you replaced me with a stranger and gave her my inheritance. I gave you 3 days.
Edward had no answer. He hung up, his silence as hollow as the past 2 years. That evening, Christine approached Donna in the living room, the pearls resting in her open hands.
You'll do no such thing. These pearls stay in this family. They don't belong to someone who walked out on us.
The court set a hearing date within the week. Catherine called Elizabeth in to review the case one last time.
The addendum is ironclad. They'll paint you as ungrateful, but we have proof you were cut off without a word.
The morning of the hearing, the courtroom was a stark arena of polished wood and quiet tension. The family's attorney argued the pearls were a gift to Christine, and Elizabeth's 2-year absence proved abandonment. Catherine countered calmly. The notarized addendum was unequivocal. Elizabeth was cut off, not absent. The law recognized no excuses. The judge, after a long silence, denied the motion to dismiss. The addendum was facially valid. The case would proceed.
One more step. They can't just wish this away. The law is on my side.
Outside, the winter sun cast long shadows. Catherine assured Elizabeth the pretrial ruling was a strong signal.
Now I just have to face them again, but this time on the record.
A trial date was set. The case would be heard before a judge, and for the first time, Elizabeth's family would have to answer under oath. The day of trial, the courtroom was heavier than before. The judge entered, black robe flowing, and the room rose.
Elizabeth has always been cold. She abandoned this family. The pearls were just a family heirloom. She had no right to them.
Donna's voice trembled with rehearsed emotion, painting her daughter as ungrateful, distant, selfish. George sat rigid, nodding along.
We didn't hear from her for 2 years. Not a call. The pearls meant nothing to her.
Then Christine was called. She walked to the stand with downcast eyes, her hands fidgeting.
Donna gave me the pearls that morning. She said I was like a daughter. I didn't know about any addendum.
Under Catherine's calm cross-examination, Christine admitted no one had ever shown her the will or told her the truth. The pearls sat in an evidence bag on the table, a silent witness to the fracture in this family. When the testimony ended, the courtroom felt hollow. The judge adjourned, promising a ruling the next day.
I've done everything I can. The truth is on the record. Now it's out of my hands.
The next morning, the courtroom reconvened. Catherine rose, and every eye fixed on her as she approached the bench.
The notarized addendum is unambiguous. It names Elizabeth as the sole heir to these pearls. The law does not bend to family emotional pleas. The evidence shows Elizabeth was cut off, not the one who walked away, and Christine herself testified she had no knowledge of the addendum.
The defense attorney countered, arguing that Elizabeth's absence implied abandonment, and the pearls were a gift freely given to Christine. The judge gave no sign of his leanings. He simply nodded and said he would rule shortly, then retired to chambers. Time stretched. Elizabeth sat motionless, hands folded. The pearls in the evidence bag seemed to glimmer under the fluorescent lights.
Whatever happens, I did what I had to do. For Grandma, for myself.
The silence was finally broken by the creak of the judge's door. The room rose, hearts pounding. The judge took his seat, his expression unreadable. He cleared his throat and unfolded a paper. Now, after all the words, the law would speak, and it did. The judge read from the paper in a level voice. The court finds the notarized addendum valid and binding in its entirety. The pearl necklace, 2 landscape paintings, and $62,000 savings bond are the legal property of Elizabeth. The court orders Replevin. The pearls are to be returned to Elizabeth within 21 days. He lifted the necklace from the evidence bag briefly, then set it down. The room held its breath. He brought the gavel down once. The sound echoed like a door closing. Donna's face crumpled into disbelief, but no tears came. George stared at the table, his jaw clenched. Elizabeth remained still, her hands folded in her lap. The victory did not feel like joy.
It's really over. The law saw what they did. Grandma's words held.
The pearls remained in the evidence bag, but now they carried the weight of a judge's order. The ruling was absolute. The countdown had begun, and no appeal would change the words Margaret had signed.
You've destroyed this family over a piece of jewelry. I hope you're proud.
It's done. No point now.
Christine covered her face with her hands, tears slipping through her fingers. She whispered an apology no one heard.
I thought winning would feel different. Instead, I just feel empty. Thank you, Catherine. I couldn't have done this without you.
She gathered her briefcase and walked out without a glance toward her family. The corridor felt longer than the trial itself. Outside, the winter air hit her face. She took a deep breath, but the weight didn't lift.
The pearls are still with her. It's not over until they're back around my neck.
She started the engine and pulled away from the curb. The countdown was on, but the hollow victory didn't feel like justice. 21 days. That was how long she'd have to wait before the pearls were truly hers again. The 21 days passed in a strange, suspended quiet. No calls, no messages, just the slow turn of the calendar toward the deadline. On the final morning, Catherine placed a small velvet box on the desk as Elizabeth took her seat.
The family's attorney complied with the order. No fanfare, no argument, just this.
Elizabeth lifted the lid. The pearls lay inside, glowing softly against the navy velvet. She lifted them slowly, the familiar weight settling into her palm. For a moment, she simply held them.
They're home.
They belong with you, Elizabeth. It's what your grandmother wanted.
Elizabeth clasped the necklace around her neck, the pearls cool against her skin, the emptiness she'd felt since the trial began to ease. She left the office with the box in her bag, but the pearls around her neck were all she needed. The legal battle was over. The pearls had come back, and so had she. She returned to her apartment and carefully unclasped the pearls, placing them in the safe beside the 2 paintings. The landscapes and the pearls sat together, proof that her grandmother's wishes had finally been honored. A vibration cut the quiet. Her phone glowed on the coffee table. The screen read, "Donna?" Elizabeth stared at the name, her expression unchanging, as if she'd been expecting this.
Not today. Not ever.
She blocked the number without hesitation and set the phone face down. Then, sliding into her chair, she let the quiet wrap around her. The pearls rested against her collarbone.
I will never sit at their table again. I'm done.
For the first time in 2 years, the silence didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like freedom. The replacement was over. The real daughter had reclaimed her life. She used the $62,000 bond for a down payment on a small house, hers completely. She stood in front of the house with the sold sign, the pearls around her neck. Inside, She hammered a nail and hung her grandmother's landscape painting above the fireplace. That November, she set a Thanksgiving table for her friends, the pearls catching the candlelight. She laughed and toasted with people who valued her, wearing the necklace Grandma meant for her all along. Christine never returned to their dinners. She was seen drinking coffee alone, the necklace gone. Edward's restaurant closed for good. The for lease sign hung in the window, and he never called Elizabeth. A few months later, a realtor's sign appeared on the front lawn of her parents' house. Donna and George drove away in a moving truck, the house shrinking in the rearview mirror. Elizabeth sat in her new living room, sunlight pouring in, her grandmother's paintings on the walls. She rose from the armchair and walked to the fireplace, where a small framed photograph of her grandmother rested on the mantel. Margaret wore the same pearl necklace in the photo, her smile full of the warmth Elizabeth had always remembered.
You'd be proud of me, Grandma. It took some time, but I finally brought them home.
She lifted a hand and touched the pearls, feeling their familiar cool weight against her fingertips. The pearls were where they belonged. Beyond the photograph, the two landscape paintings hung on the wall, their soft greens and golds catching the morning light. She smiled, a small, quiet smile that reached her eyes for the first time in years. The pearls lay against her skin, a silent promise kept across the years. She had walked in at 4:47 p.m., and walked out with everything that mattered. The real daughter was finally, completely home. She walked across the room and stood by the window, the morning light soft against her face. The world outside was quiet, the street empty and golden. She belonged to it now, without condition. She had walked in at 4:47 p.m., a stranger in her own family's house. But she walked out with what mattered, the pearls, her grandmother's trust, and her own sense of worth. The replacement never lasted. Christine faded from their table, and the family scattered. But the real daughter, the one they tried to erase, was always here. She touched the pearls one last time, a silent thank you to the woman who had always believed in her. Then she turned back to the window, the sun fully risen now. She had walked in at 4:47 p.m. and walked out with everything. The real daughter had always been there. Now she was free. The pearls remained with Elizabeth, gleaming against the dark as they always should have. On their Thanksgiving table, a single place card still rested, her name crossed out in black ink. But that table had turned to dust, a monument to what they tried so hard to erase. She never picked up another call from that number, never sent a single message. She created a new tradition, a table filled with people who actually saw her, and at every gathering the pearls lay against her heart, a silent conversation with her grandmother. They were not a reminder of betrayal, but of the love that outlasted it, a love that had been notarized and signed and could never be scratched out. She walked in at 4:47 p.m. and walked out with everything that mattered. The pearls were home, and so was she.